anything I say about Morbius is a joke. We all are Morbin in our heart of hearts. Cluck, cluck, cluck. So, I'm gonna tell you what I remember in my foggy, Kong-strong wild power adult state. What I remember from what Skylark said. So there's a guy called Michael Morbius. Okay? And he's born with a rare blood illness. So there's a guy called Michael Morbius. He's a no, he's not a doctor. He's not born a doctor, okay? He's not born a doctor. He's born just a guy, and he has a rare blood illness, and he hangs out. He's like an orphan, and he hangs out with like this other orphan who's not called Milo or Milo. Did we ever decide? I don't know. Milo. Hangs out with Milo. Milo is not Milo's real name, but Morbius names him Milo, and then everyone calls him Milo from then on. And they're like friends in an orphanage. Know what happens? Then Morbius fixes a machine. Because he fixes a machine, they're like, oh, you're a super genius. We're gonna take you to like a super fancy school for geniuses. And then flash forward to the present. Morbius is still friends with Milo. Morbius is now a medical doctor living in a rundown place, I think. And he's friends with Milo. Milo is now a millionaire. And crucially, and this is very important, Milo is Doctor Who now. Milo is Matt Smith Doctor Who. The 11th Doctor. I had to do the math in my head. I had to remember which one was Eccleston, who is the best Doctor. Don't even at me. Anyways, and then Morbius is like, man, I think I found a cure because there's some bats. No, the movie doesn't start with that. The movie starts with bats, okay? The movie starts with them, not them, somebody else. This summary is already ruined. The movie starts with a bunch of people. I'm not looking at the chat because I don't want to see Skylark correct me, because I'm just gonna do this. We're just gonna do this live, okay? We're gonna do it live. A bunch of people are like, oh, we can't go into that cave. It has like super bats. They're not called super bats. They have there's some kind of bat. Caribbean bats. Amazonian bats. Mexican bats. I don't know. It's some kind of exotification nonsense. And they go in there and they see all these shredded carcasses and they go like, oh yeah, man, these bats shred these carcasses. They're like vampire bats and they shred these carcasses. They're like the most dangerous bats in the world. And then I think someone gets killed. I don't know. Then he goes to the guys. Right? Goes to the guys. Anyway, when they're both grown up, Morbius is like, oh, I discovered these vampires. Then if I make a thing with their blood and inject us with it, we're gonna be cured from our blood disease that makes us, I don't know, require transfusions all the time. He makes a serum or whatever the heck it's called, and he injects himself with it. But instead of curing him of this disease that requires blood cleansings or whatever the heck, he growls. He starts growling. He starts transmorbing his face because he does this experiment in a ship, at the bottom of a ship. Because they're like, oh, we don't know the effects of this, so let's take a ship to the Atlantic and lock me in a cage. And there's another doctor that is friends of his. I don't know, man. There's a lot of confusing stuff in this film that I haven't seen that I'm summarizing for you. I hope you're enjoying this. And and then so he starts morbing, and for some reason he escapes. He's freaking out. He's wilding out. He starts devouring or killing a bunch of guys, and they try to shoot him. They try to shoot Morbius, and he yells when they shoot him. He yells. He's like, but they can't stop it. They can't stop the morbing, and he morbs. He morbs all over this ship, and then he's like, "Oh man, I am sad that I am morbing. I am scared." Taking a page, very obviously as a tribute to the original Kamen Rider, where after Takeshi Hongo is involuntarily turned into Kamen Rider, turned into a cyborg, and then he becomes a Kamen Rider, he's like, Takeshi Hongo is like, I am less human than man now, blah blah blah, my body is unrecognizable, I need to atone for nothing because Takeshi Hongo never did anything wrong, don't at me. So and thus is Morbius born, and then somehow his childhood friend Milo, played by Matt Smith, he gets a hold of the morbing serum, and he morbs as well, and he becomes, in the comics it's called Hunger. There's a lot of shots that are ripped from other movies. There's a lot of tracks in the soundtrack that are ripped from other movies. There's like a shot that is like the shot of Batman in the tank in Batman Begins. That's what I remember people say. That's what Skylarka told me. Skylarka and Cabu, they were both telling me about this. I want to stress, I have only seen Batman Begins once in the cinema. So I don't remember the scene they're talking about. All I remember was Cillian Murphy being hotter than the sun. Cillian Murphy, Cork City's favorite son, the People's Republic of Cork's favorite son, Cillian Murphy of Peaky Blinders. Anyway, at one point, Morbius is in a bat tank full of bats, and that gives him the power to summon bats, to summon like a legion, a hurricane of bats. At one point, he kamehamehas a bunch of bats at Milo. And this makes no sense in context either, so don't worry. Fear not. Oh yeah, at one point, he's like, he's desperate to start to not morb anymore. He doesn't want to morb anymore. He doesn't want to say it's morbing time anymore, which he says several times during the movie. He says it several times. He doesn't want to morb anymore. So he's trying to look for some kind of cure to his vampirism, because he's a vampire now. So he needs even more blood than before. And he's like, and he goes to an abandoned subway station where there's a bunch of counterfeiters, yeah? And he's like, hey guys, I am Morbius. Stop counterfeiting that American money. He says it like that. He says it that awkwardly. And so he's like, I don't want to hurt you, but I will morb. And the guys are like, you're gonna morb? What does that even mean? What does it even mean, dude? We don't even know what morb means. You're just Jared Leto, man. We're counterfeiting American dollars all the way up in this subway, and you are just Jared Leto. What are you gonna do? Target us with a defamation campaign because we rightfully accused you of sexual harassment? What are you gonna do? You gonna do that? And then he's like, no, I'm going to morb. And he morbs, man, and he kills the counterfeiters. That's it. They try to shoot him. They can't manage it. They can't kill him because he's morbed. He grabs their counterfeiting equipment. This part is true. This part is true. As to what other parts of this are true, I'll leave that up to you to judge. And basically, he unbuilds the counterfeiting machines and rebuilds them into a lab from which. Oh no, I forgot. Okay, this bit is true. When they are asking him who he is, he actually yells at them, I am Venom. Now, I haven't seen the Venom movies. I need to because I actually hear they're actually good. But apparently in those movies, like, Venom is like a secret and nobody knows about Venom. And this is meant to connect those movies and it's just not working. Anyway, he rebuilds counterfeiting printing presses into a chemical lab somehow, like it was a Lego. And then he makes an enzyme that he thinks is going to help him morb less. What else happens in that movie? He kamehamehas at Matt Smith. He kamehamehas bats at Matt Smith. Matt Smith, and this was on Twitter. I saw this on Twitter. This scene is actually true. He dances in front of a mirror while morbing. Or as I call it, Miloing, because he's Milo. But he Milos at the... He's like, imagine Matt Smith doing a funny dance and then like going like... several times during it. The end. Morbius will return in Morbius 2. This time, it's morbing time. Now I'm gonna read the chat. I'm sorry.